At this hour, voters in Crimea are deciding whether to break away from Ukraine and seek annexation by Russia. The vote is regarded as illegitimate by both Ukraine's government and the West, but it's widely expected to pass. About 20,000 troops under apparent control of Moscow have taken up posts in the region. Yesterday, some of those soldiers advanced 6 miles across Crimea's border and took over a natural gas distribution point. Now, if the vote passes, Russia could face international sanctions as early as tomorrow. But what else should the U.S. do? That's our topic this half hour, and we want to hear from you. Share your thoughts on Facebook and on Twitter. Right now in our newsroom is Chris Tritico, Jackie Bally, and Mustafa Tamiz. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
So what do you think? How about it?
You know, this has been a growing crisis that Russia created all by itself. And the world's been looking to the United States, and every time the president says, I want to do this, the world says no. And so I'm not really sure what the rest of the world expects us to do without their support, because this is not something that we can do on our own. There's been a lot of criticism of the Obama administration for not doing something more direct to Russia when this first started, but I'm not really sure. You know, he came out and said, I want to do these monetary sanctions, and Europe said no. And the next thing he said, I can't remember what it was, the rest of the world said no. What is it the president can do if Europe's not going to help?
There is a great Clint Eastwood line. It says, a man got to know his limitation. And in this case, as a nation, we got to know our limitation. There's only so much we can do about this. And as this referendum happens in Crimea, just think about this, 20,000 Russian soldiers in your town, and they're saying, do you want to be with us or not? And so the vote's going to pass overwhelmingly. It's going to cause an international problem, but there's not a whole lot we can do about it.
There's no doubt, I think, that everyone can agree that the Crimean region considers itself more Russian than it does Ukrainian. What's wrong if they really want to go back and join Russia?
I think it's just the way that Putin has really gone after this and the Russian leaders. You know, perception is often reality, and Putin has had this kind of discord with the Obama administration, and he feels that this is a time when we are weak as far as our foreign policy. So even though the rest of Europe and the rest of the world is looking at us for some kind of help or explanation, or the president will say, I'm going to draw a red line, or we're going to do certain sanctions, but he's very limited in what he can actually do.
In this situation?
In this situation, and in other circumstances, when he did draw the red line, nothing happened. So I think Putin is taking advantage of a lot of that, and it's just the way that he's gone about it. He has not really tried to reach out, try to have some kind of peaceful takeover. It's more my way or the highway.
You know, the red line you're talking about is in Syria, and didn't the Republicans stop him from bombing like he wanted to?
Oh, well, he wasn't going to do it anyway because he knows that the American residents did not want that happen. Many citizens said that they were against and opposed to doing something like that.
Well, I'm going to go to Dominic. I'll come back and talk about some more about Crimea. Dominic's monitoring our social media accounts.
Yeah, and what I'm hearing from my Facebook friends is, you know, if the majority of the country votes to side with Russia and to become part of Russia, what's the problem with that? You
know, and that's kind of the question I was asking Jackie. If Crimea wants to break away from Ukraine, what business is it of ours?
That's what I'm saying. So when you put 20,000 Russian soldiers in a town and you say, do you want to vote with us?
You want to go with us?
You know, you have to worry about that election. And it's not, I mean, this region has a history of creating you know, conflicts in Europe, and it's always been, and Russia wasn't going to give this up. There's a great gas pipeline that goes through this region. It's access to the sea. So there's a lot of reasons for this. But I think it's a good time for us as Americans to start talking about this, that although we're the superpower, we don't control other people, and we don't control other nations. And we have to protect our own national security, but we have to watch our own boundaries.
Let me ask you about this. There's been a lot of talk, a lot from Republicans, that we should open up our natural gas sales to Europe. We've been holding that natural gas instead of selling it. If we open that natural gas sales up to Europe, then the Europeans will be more inclined to come with us on sanctions because they don't have to buy Russian gas.
Of course, and it would also put Putin at a much lower level as far as bargaining, and he would not have the leverage that he currently has. So that's why you're having that discussion. And Putin has also put himself in a very awkward position because of the way he's gone into this region, because he is alienating himself from people who are ethnically and culturally have the same similarities as his people. So this is going to be a problem.
Wouldn't that be the harshest economic sanction, to take the natural natural gas sales from Russia, and if we start selling it ourselves, wouldn't that be the economic sanction against Russia?
It also takes a little while to do that, meaning that we just can't do that. We just can't turn on the faucet and do it overnight. We got to build those terminals, a lot of them in Houston. So there's a good reason to do that. I think outside of this conflict, we should be doing that. We should start selling gas to Europeans. There's also a question of missile defense. We had talked about years ago whether we should have a European missile defense, which I'm against. I don't think an arms race is how to solve these kind of conflicts.
All right, we're going to have to leave it right there. We'll be back next week, Domily, hopefully without any wild animals in the studio.
Yeah, I could certainly do without wild animals. Thanks so much. You guys are wild enough. Thanks so much, guys.